Hi guys, it's Sue and welcome back to Beauty Fortified. And today I'm talking about the Jaclyn Dear Mom palette. Now I know that this is old news on YouTube. It has been out a good few months now, but I've only just received mine. So I purchased this 2 months ago. It took 2 months to get to me and I was very pleased to have received it finally. So I have been playing around with it a little bit and I'm going to give you a demo on how I got this look, but I wanted to talk a little bit about the palette first. So I am an absolute marketer's dream and I love a good story. And when I saw that Jaclyn was coming out with this palette, I watched one of her videos where she talks all about the palette and the launch, and I will leave a link to her video down below. But when I saw that and I saw that it was a collab with her mom and that this palette was aimed at the more mature woman, it really spoke my name. So it was as if Jaclyn had phoned me up herself and said, buy it, which of course she didn't. But I was really compelled because I just loved everything about it. I love the way that she has diversified. I think it's very clever marketing. So she was aiming it at a slightly older audience. And I just loved the way that the whole thing was curated and put together. And if you watch her video, you'll see what I mean. So all the shades have got different names and they all kind of pertain to her childhood and that kind of thing. And it was or is just a really beautifully put together palette. So a little bit about the packaging. It comes in a box that looks like this. On the back of the box, it's got some of her family photographs, which I think is a really beautiful touch. This obviously came out to coincide with Mother's Day, which I think could have been in March or May, probably March in the States. I lose track. It's been so long. I've been waiting for this palette for so long. The actual palette comes in cardboard packaging. So I got the one that says Dear Mom. I think there is another edition that doesn't have the Dear Mom on it, but it's just really beautiful. It's got the embossed J on it, and I just think it's very elegant. And then inside you get 20 different eyeshadows. Now what I loved about this palette is that the majority of them are mattes. So I think I counted there are 13 mattes and 7 shimmers. And these are what the colors look like. So it's just beautifully curated. On this side, you've got kind of the cool shadows. And then on this side, you've got the warm shadows. And the cool shadows really appeal to me because I don't think people are bringing out enough cool shadows. And I do struggle a little bit with the warmer tones on my mature eyes because it can make me look like I haven't had enough sleep or like I've got pink eye or been stung by something, so I have to be really careful. But these have got all the shades that I absolutely love. Now I'm not going to swatch them. You can see swatches if you watch your video below, but I can tell you that it just is a beautiful curation of colors. So there is a green in here and I absolutely am mad about this kind of green. I think it's just beautiful. There are a couple of gold shimmers with different kind of intensities, different shades. There are some light shadows at the top for highlighting and doing the inner corner of your eye. And then there's also some really neutral transition shades. So referring to the top 2 up here. And then this row, second from bottom, is all mattes as well. So there's kind of something for everybody in this palette. And then, of course, in terms of the quality, it's really not bad at all. So some of the shades are a little bit more intense than others, but I really think that it's not a bad curation at all. I think the shades are really beautiful and it just makes a beautiful story. Now, in terms of purchasing this, so the retail price is $49 US. I ended up paying probably double that when you consider the shipping charges and then the customs duty that I paid on the palette, which I didn't know that I was going to have to pay. It's a kind of hit and miss when you import things. Sometimes they do hit you with the duty, sometimes they don't. So it did come as a bit of a surprise to me. So all in all, this palette ended up costing me twice what it would cost if you had just, walked into a retailer. So from that point of view, it was quite expensive. Now onto the look. I'm going to show you how I achieved this look and then I'm going to give you my final thoughts at the end. I've prepped my skin, I've done my foundation. Today I went in with the Clarins Skin Illusion Velvet and I've just put on a little bit of powder. Today I'm using the Rimmel Stay Matte. So with the palette, I'm going to be playing with this section of colors on the right hand side. So these are where the cooler tones are. And I'm going to go in starting off with So Lucky. And this is just a very neutral shade. And I'm going to go in with that on a fluffy brush. And I'm going to take that just all over the lids. And this is a very, very light color. It's almost the same color as my lids. So this is just going to even everything out, and it's going to give me a nice powder base to work from. So not a lot of pigment in this particular shade. And then with a flat eyeshadow brush, I'm going to be going into this kind of grey blue here. This is called Mamacita, and it's just a gorgeous, it's kind of a grungy sort of denim blue. So I'm just going to take a little bit of that on the brush, and not a lot of kickback with this particular shade. And I'm just going to tap that all over the mobile lid. So it is giving me just a beautiful, quite sheer wash of color, but I do want to build that up. So I'm just going to carry on patting it in with the flat brush until I'm happy with the opacity. So there's a tiny bit of fallout with this shadow, but I am going to clean that up at the end. And then for a crease color, I'm going in with, this is a kind of, I would call it a light gray, and this is called Small Town. And I'm just going to take that on a fluffy crease brush, and I'm just going to gently go into the crease with that, just to deepen up the crease slightly. And this is quite a subtle shade as well, but it really is lovely. It's just such a neutral kind of grey. So just gently building up the crease with that. And what I like about the way that this palette has been curated is that if I wanted to go slightly deeper, there is another kind of deeper grey at the bottom. It's sort of a greeny grey. So you've kind of got, in that section there, you've got all the looks for a cool eye. So I really like that. And then the way that she's curated the other shades, they kind of tend to work the same way. So it's really beautifully done. But I think I'm going to leave this just quite subtle at the moment. I'm quite happy with the color payoff in the crease. I'm going to take a very fluffy blending brush, and I'm just going to blend that out just so that there are no harsh edges. But you could definitely build this up, as I say, using TC, that's the darker kind of greeny grey, if you wanted to go a little bit heavier in the crease. And then I'm going to put a little bit of shadow just under my brow bone, and I'm going in with this one at the top. It's a matte, and it's in the shade Honey, and it's also just a very beautiful sort of highlighting shade. It complements my skin tone. There's another one next to it which is Biscuit, which is a little bit lighter. So I have heard that some people have said that a lot of these colors are just too similar, and they are quite similar, I agree, but there are differences at the same time, if that makes sense. So Honey is definitely the right shade for my skin tone, just to give me a little pop of color just right underneath the brow. Now I'm going to take a small eyeshadow brush, and I'm going to go back in with the color Mamacita, and I'm going to use it just to gently line my lower lid. So it is quite powdery, this one, so I'm just picking up a tiny bit on the brush, and I'm just going to start very small, just going in there just to give a little bit of definition and just to give some continuity with the mobile lid. So I really love this color. I mean, it is a blue denim-y blue grey, but I do consider it a neutral, just as I consider denim a neutral. So I really do love that. And then I'm going to top this off. I'm going to go in with one of the metallics, and this is called Thankful. So it's this one over here, and it also forms part of this kind of cool color story. And it is just a beautiful, it's a very shiny kind of silver gray blue. And I'm going to take a little bit of that on the same brush that I've just used to line my lower lid. And I'm just going to put a little pop of that sort of on the inner third of the eye, just because it's so pretty. You wouldn't have to do this step, but it really is just such a pretty shade, and it just kind of opens up the eye. So it really is just a little bit of fun. It's just really gorgeous, and I'm sure you could wet these as well if you wanted to, if you wanted a little bit more intensity with these shimmers. But I find that all of the shimmers have swatched really well, they've worked really well, and very, very pleased with them. I think I'm just going to take a little bit of that Small Town, which is the light grey, and I'm just going to deepen up my crease slightly. I think it could just do with a little bit of deepening up there. This is not a very intense shade of grey, which I quite like for the crease, because then it just makes blending that much easier. Just gives you a little wash of color. It's not really that opaque at all, which is quite nice because it keeps it quite fresh and quite modern. So I think that's all I'm going to do for the eyes at this stage. So I'm going to pop on some mascara, and then I'm going to finish off the rest of the makeup. So I'm going to go in with a couple of coats of the MAC Stack mascara. Now I'm going to go into cheeks. So I do want quite a nice, very light but glowy look on the cheeks today. So I'm going to go in with my Revlon Skinlights highlighter, and this is in Daybreak Glimmer. Just taking a small brush, and I'm going to just pop that onto the cheekbone, but I'm going to be quite generous with it. And this is just going to peek through once I've put on my blush for a gentle lit from within glow. And then I'm going to go in with one of my MAC favorites, and this is in the color Melba, and it's just a beautiful light peach. And then for the lips, I'm going to go in with a vinyl lip gloss from Revlon, and this is in the shade Act Natural. So guys, that is the final look, and what are my final thoughts? Well, I'm very pleased with the palette. I think that I'm going to get a lot of use out of it. I think it really is quite a versatile palette. It's got a lot of colors in here that I really love, from the cool tones to the warm tones. They really resonated with me at the outset, so I wasn't disappointed, and I think I really am going to get a lot of use out of it. In terms of importing it and paying all the duties and taxes, was it worth it? Probably not, but I have it now, and so I'm going to make the most of it. So guys, let me know if you've tried the palette. Let me know what your thoughts are. I'd love to hear from you. Please leave your comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Ciao, ciao.